Today's show is supported by Pocket, your space to absorb all the amazing content you find on the web.
Fill the Pocket up with all those articles, long reads, and videos that catch your eye and create a quiet corner to focus on your interests.
This is exactly what I actually need instead of constantly texting them to myself. Turn your downtime into quality time and transform the way you read with the award-winning Pocket from Firefox.
Great job, Firefox. Download Pocket from your app store today or go to getpocket.com.
Goodbye.
What's up, Boston? It seemed like you weren't going to start it, so I just started it.
Yeah. I was waiting for you.
Were you doing a dramatic hold?
Well, I couldn't remember if we decided to say Medford or Boston.
I think it's Boston, right?
Yeah.
I mean...
Should we do another one, too?
Yeah.
Let's do one for Medford, too, just in case they're sad.
What's up, Medford?
What's up, Medford?
Now, if you were really funny, it would have been just dead quiet when we said that. Just fucking not one response in the entire room. And thank you, ma'am, for your one-woman standing ovation.
Yeah.
It was really brave. You didn't look back till the very end. And then you sat down right away, so we knew you weren't crazy. It's just nice. That's a good feeling.
What's great about tonight is, unlike last night, and I could be wrong about this, there's not canned wine for sale in the lobby. So everyone isn't thinking they're drinking one glass of wine when really they're drinking 2.5 glasses of wine out of a can.
It was 11% alcohol in a can of wine. And from what I understand, regular beer is 4% alcohol. So people were just like, I'm just gonna have a couple sips. Fuck yeah! Rock and roll!
She's talking about me after the show. When I had 2.5 glasses of wine in a can.
Georgia had 6 cans of wine last week.
I barely made it here today. But luckily, I wasn't the naked man running around outside of our hotel when we got back.
You know, it's been an amazing tour so far. Mm-hmm. We've seen the sights. We've seen everything the East Coast has to offer, including a man who lost. His shirt was off, and I watched him step out of his pants and then turned and went, naked guy on the street. Should we hold here should we pretend we're going through our purses at the trunk and just hang out for a second?
We went for it.
He was not conscious of us or anything else.
And then I flashed you later.
Yeah, that was fun.
I like to...
No, tell the whole story.
Oh.
You open with the punchline and then you think you're just gonna keep going?
Well, then I got to my hotel room and I opened my bag of stuff and it was Karen's bag of stuff. And I looked at my phone and Karen's like, oh shit, you have my bag of stuff. Let's trade. And I was like, I'll come to you. She's like, I'm at the elevator. I'm like, this is my fucking chance. And I had on like a strapless dress, throw on little dress. And so I hit her floor and I'm going up and I'm like, what if there are cameras in here? So I wait till the last minute and pull my dress down and then just step out of the elevator and hand the thing.
Yes. You're right to cheer for her tits. You're right. She's been gifted by God.
Thank you.
Here's the thing. Georgia's done this to me many times. She's a touch of a nudist.
It's a great prank, I think.
Every time, it is like the surprise. I can't process what I'm looking at for the first, half a second. So I'm like, well, it's her face. What are we doing down here? Every time I'm like, hey.
Gotcha.
Hey.
Gotcha.
That's not a shirt with pictures of tits. That's your actual tits.
Titties. Gotcha.
Also, it was a Friday night in New York City in a pretty busy hotel. So the odds that there would have been some rando dude standing next to me were, I would say, pretty good.
I thought of that as I stepped out of the elevator. Immediately felt shame and embarrassment. pulled it up pretty quick, but I got the point across.
Well, from my experience, you stepped off the elevator and it was like one of those dresses with an elastic top here and just the elastic was down there. It was like I chose almost like an off the shoulder dress. She was like, I'm doing off the tits tonight.
Yeah. I don't think Vince even knows I did that.
Secrets.
My own husband.
So we have secrets.
We're in a high school.
I know.
Do you guys know that? You're our student body. Ooh.
This is really what it's like, though. They should warn you in high school. It's like, you're kind of gonna be in high school forever. Just get used to it. It's always gonna be this feeling of like, we were supposed to prepare something for the talent show, but we got drunk and showed each other our tits in the elevator all night. And now we're like, hello, my baby.
Do we say Medford or do we say Boston?
I don't know. Why didn't we decide before?
Why did we practice? Well, at least we have our rug to distract everyone.
Our handy rug.
Thank you. We brought it from home.
Yep.
We didn't bring Steven. Sorry.
Yeah.
It was the rug or Steven.
Steven's like, you can roll me in the rug.
This rug's not going to take care of my cats and send me lots and lots of photos of them when I'm sad about it. Is it? No, it's not. But yeah.
Oh, this is My Favorite Murder, the podcast.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's Karen Kilgariff.
And this is Georgia Hardstark. Yeah.
Thanks, you guys. You guys were the ones that woke up early on the day the tickets went on sale, got the early show tickets. You're fucking on it. You're the responsible ones.
That's right.
Good job.
You guys are the ones that you're like, I want to go see him, but I'm not staying up all night. No, I have shit to do.
Yeah. We support that.
I'm a pastor. I have to get up and do 7 a.m. mass tomorrow morning.
Right.
I'm not just gonna...
Yeah. I can't
be like...
all the time. Oh, let's talk about your outfit.
Oh, all right.
Tell us.
Thanks, everybody. Oftentimes when we're on tour, I go through a thing called outfit resistance, where I just don't feel like getting an outfit. But this time, I rolled the dice. I went on to the internet, where they have lots of clothes, and I was just like, just order a couple things and see what happens. So this old thing rolls in, and I tried it on. I was like, great, it fits, everything's perfect. And then... Thank you so much. I like that a couple of people were saying it like, pockets? Pockets?
It can't be. It couldn't be.
They gave a pockets? Yeah.
I love it.
I didn't even know. I didn't know when I ordered it. It's just a fun surprise.
Bonus.
It was kind of like a pocket bonus.
And then I stuck my hand in them the other night.
Yeah, because they're nice deep pockets.
They are. This woman goes, oh. And then there's cough drops in there.
Yeah. I'm kind of like a reverse pinata. You have to come in here. Then there's fun stuff. Like cough drops. And what about your dress, Georgia?
This is a dress. I bought it. I got $10 shoes on. Thank you.
Very nice.
I put my really nice high-heeled gold shoes next to the door at home. And Vince, who was coming out after us, I was like, if you can fit those in your suitcase, bring them, don't forget. And he was like, okay, I'll try. And then got to the hotel, and he was like, I couldn't fit them. And I was so fucking happy about it.
You know, in the future, you don't even have to go through any of that. You can just not bring them.
I know, but, you know, I wanted to try. And
why?
So, I don't know. It's this weird thing I have. And so I got $10 shoes at Old Navy instead, and that's what's happening. And I am very happy with my decision. And they have foot pockets.
Oh my God.
You can put your foot in
there. There's a whole knife in there. Oh wait, do a spin. It's a feature that you didn't know you had last night. Look at Scarlett O'Hara. You could put crinolines under there and go to a dance.
I'm dizzy. Like
You say you're busy or you're dizzy?
dizzy. I'm too busy
to go to that dance.
Nobody asked me.
Stupid.
Wait, what? Should we sit down?
Sure, yeah. These are nice.
Oh, I want to. Never in the history of fucking this podcast live has the table been tinier.
This is less a table and more an elbow rest, actually.
I mean, it's really all the room we need, but
still,
it makes me feel.
give us a little more than we need.
I feel inferior. Also, we were getting driven here by someone who works here, and we were like, "What shows have been here lately?" And I still feel the energy. What was it?
The Price is Right Live was here. Did you go to it?
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Was it amazing?
Was the price right?
Did you win 2 cars?
Was Plinko here? That sounds fucking amazing. And then I just realized just now.
Was Plinko here? Did Plinko come?
Oh my God, did you get a photo with Plinko? But then I just realized I could actually go to the Price is Right actual show.
Yeah, in our hometown.
In our hometown, but I was really excited about it being here too.
We asked if Drew Carey came, turns out he didn't. So if you're bummed that you weren't here, don't worry. I bet you they got a local comic who tried their best. I wonder if they gave actual money away. I bet they did. I bet they did.
Actual money? That's fucking
If
cool.
you were at The Price is Right Live, please write to myfavoriteMurder@gmail.com and let us know what it was like.
Yeah.
We'd love to know.
Oh, this is a true crime comedy podcast.
That's right.
There are rules and regulations.
I mean, there's all kinds of stipulations. We basically like to tell people, because sometimes people sometimes people are fans and then they bring people who are not fans to the show. And those people have no fucking clue what's going on. They're like, this isn't really what I want to be doing. And
you just talk through the whole thing?
there's just talking. It's just girls talking. Can you imagine? Ugh. It's the wave of the future. Get used to it. It's going to start happening all the time. But, yeah, that's right.
Here, we'll go first.
We're going to dominate the conversation tonight, but then go ahead and get out there and really do it yourselves later. But we just like to warn people, if you're not used to this show or whatever, we talk about true crime, which is really heavy and dark and can be very awful, and there's a lot of loss, but we also make jokes to each other about it while we're talking about it, because that's what we're like, and that's how we talk to each other, and life is complex and sometimes difficult, and if you don't like it, you can get the fuck out, is essentially our invitation to you, the person who doesn't exist in this room, and yet we're still dedicating 5 minutes at the top to them. It's just what we like to do. Every once in a while. We got heckled once in Australia, so now we feel like we need to give a warning at the top of the show.
Yeah, we really just need to call that guy and be like, hey man, what the fuck?
We should do the warning is, if you're a drunk Australian man that's not used to girls talking freely and the way they want to, you can get the fuck out.
If you just buy tickets to shit.
If you're a season pass holder to this theater
and thought, you know, what I want to go out at Saturday night.
I have favorites of my own. I'd like to see what their favorites are.
What's it's like a radio show? A podcast is like, I love radio shows.
My granddaughter likes podcasts.
I'm going to give it a shot and get really shit-faced first, then scream at them.
And then express feelings that have nothing to do with what's happening in front of me, but that I can't talk to the real people I feel them about.
Right. This is a psychology class.
We're really judging that Australian guy, but
I mean,
hey.
come on.
Today's show is sponsored by Talkspace, the online therapy company that lets you message a licensed therapist from anywhere at any time.
Can't imagine fitting anything else into your life?
Well, with Talkspace, therapy is as easy as sending your therapist a message. Get something off your chest whenever you need to.
Talk about everyday challenges at work or at home. Just chat about life.
There are no extra commutes, no leaving the office, and no judgment.
All you need is a computer with internet connection or the Talkspace mobile app, and you can improve your mental health.
Remember that therapy isn't just venting about your innermost thoughts or digging into childhood memories.
It's also about practical, everyday strategies for stress management and living a happier life.
Having a therapist simply provides you a designated person for you to talk to who is trained to listen and help you make positive changes.
The Talkspace platform has over 2,000 licensed therapists who are experienced in addressing life challenges we all face.
To match with a perfect therapist for a fraction of the price of traditional therapy, go to Talkspace.com/MFM and use the code MFM to get $45 off your first month and show your support for this show.
That's MFM and Talkspace.com/MFM. Goodbye. Madison Reed is a company that the founder Amy Errett named after her daughter, and they are revolutionizing the way women color their hair.
Listen, for decades, and I mean tens of years, women have had two options. One is the outdated at-home hair color.
Hate it.
And the two is the time and expense of a salon.
Hate it even more.
It's the worst.
Well, Amy created Madison Reed because she believes that women deserve better than the status quo.
We deserve better than the status quo.
That's freaking right.
Madison Reed is reinventing the way women color their hair by offering the quality of salon color, the convenience and affordability of at-home hair color, and an ammonia-free formula with ingredients that you, Georgia, can feel good about.
Karen, do you know what I love is when I look like I just came from the salon, but the reality is that I had more time to take naps and watch TV.
What we call Georgia time.
That's right.
Experience beautiful multi-dimensional hair color made in Italy, which is really cool.
Beautiful place.
Delivered to, God, the food. Delivered to your door.
I love my door. I like gorgeous door.
It is really nice. On your schedule for under $25.
Join the hundreds of thousands of women who have tried and loved Madison Reed.
And find your perfect shade at madison-reed.com.
Madison Reed would like to honor My Favorite Murder listeners with 10% off plus free shipping on their first color kit with promo code My Favorite Murder.
That is code My Favorite Murder.
Goodbye.
Who goes first again?
I think it's you.
Okay. All right. I'm
Yep.
first tonight, guys. Thank you. All right.
You know what that means? You have the table.
Can I please have some room?
I'll
on
just
this
be over here, kind of
fucking
freely in space,
table.
thinking about my Spanx.
Okay.
Let me talk to Spanx about a different panels in the front, more military grade stuff that.
Some NASA shit going on.
One of those ones that gets this up here.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't they have those?
Yeah, the slip I have on that's basically sausage casing was just like, we're going to pull everything in. And I'm like, not the tits. I need that.
They're like, no, the tits have to go too.
Yeah, I
Have
need
to.
all the help I can get.
Sorry, I didn't mean to touch your paper.
I don't want you to see the name of it because then you would know that I'm about to do the Parkman murder. Ooh. Ooh. Great. Thank you.
Spooky Halloween.
Okay. Yeah, this is the murder of George Parkman. Okay. You guys probably all learned about this in your Boston history class or
In this very
in
building.
This very building.
When you went to high school down the hall.
Well, then this will be just a refresher course for you.
Hang in there.
I got a lot of info from the internet, but also you guys have a local history podcast called Hub History, and they have a lot of good info on that too. So fucking shout out to them. Okay. So mid-1800s.
Yes.
There we are.
Great start.
Everyone,
That's what we like.
Everyone loves it. The smells, they're everywhere. And then the bloomers and stuff.
Yeah. There's bloomers hanging from
everywhere.
gas post.
Yeah, you just throw your waste into the street with the horses. Okay, so there's this dude named John Webster White. Okay, he's a doctor. He's from a well-connected family. He's a lecturer at Harvard Medical College. So like hoity-toity and shit.
Mm-hmm. I know the type.
Chemistry instructor at the medical school. He had his own laboratory. Yeah. I went to Harvard. Mm-hmm. No, I didn't.
You drove by.
I did. The wing called Santa Monica City College. You know. Okay, he's an instructor in the laboratory. Okay. He is described by Oliver Wendell Holmes as a pleasant in the lecture room, but a rather nervous and excitable person. And this might be because most of his lectures and he shows people his, laboratory chemistry stuff, and it's like explosions and fireworks and shit.
Oh.
He just like mixes chemicals and then it's like kaboom.
So he's nervous all the time.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe he shouldn't have gone into that line of work.
Right.
If you're a nervous, excitable type, don't go into fireworks. It's probably not your jam.
He had once been wealthy. He had been from like a rich family in town, but they'd fallen on hard times, and maybe because he wasn't good at managing his money, he would do shit like buy a mastodon skeleton for a lot of money. And be like, Harvard is going to pay me back. And Harvard were like, we're not paying you back for that, bro.
I fucking love this guy already.
He's a handful.
He's all nervously buying a mastodon skeleton. This is my interest. I'm also scared of it.
He had failed at running his own private medical practice, so he had become the chemistry professor, and he kind of got free reign to do whatever the fuck he want. That included selling tickets to go watch his laboratory fireworks shows and shit, which is like how he made extra money on the side to support his wife and 4 daughters.
Okay.
And they, I guess, were like used to like living it up in the high life because they had been rich and now they weren't anymore. So he was like short on money. I don't like that he's blaming his wife and kids because this motherfucker bought mastodon skeletons.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I don't think it's.
If you're short on money, go ahead and give up that mastodon skeleton.
Yeah.
Even used, you could probably get $5-10 for it.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't you think?
So they'd been forced to give up the mansion that they had built in Cambridge, but they were leasing a house that his family was pissed that they weren't living in luxury, as I said. So he was in debt to a lot of friends. He had borrowed money from friends.
Nervously.
Okay, so then this brings us to the next dude we're going to talk about. It's George Parkman. So he's born in 1790. He's the 9th of 11 children. It's a lot. And his father at one time was one of the wealthiest men in Boston. So this is another fucking hoity-toity, highfalutin family. He's super smart. By the time he's 15, he's enrolled at Harvard to study medicine.
15?
Yeah.
Ugh. That's when you're supposed to be smoking out by the railroad tracks. Take it easy, friend.
Trying to look at girls' bloomers and shit, right? He was into mental health, and he was concerned about the poor treatment of those in asylums. So he was always like, even though his colleagues were like, who fucking cares? We're rich. He was like, no, we should give a shit. And so he also treated the poor people in South Boston during his free time. Poor people.
South Boston, poor people. We've seen your movies. We know who you are. Wonderful, wonderful accent.
And he contributed funding for a modern mental health hospital for everyone to be able to go to. So not a bad guy, probably. He was in charge of his family's trust. They had maintained their wealth, so they were still rich as shit. And he was engaged in real estate investment and speculation. I don't know where that is.
It's just where you pretend like you know stuff.
Right. It's like, I'm going to buy that. I bet it'll be worth a lot of money someday.
Yep.
Not mastodon skeletons.
Bury the mastodon skeleton in it, and it'll be worth tons of money.
That's smart. And that also meant that he was in charge of collecting rent for all the buildings around Boston that he owned. So he was like kind of a cheapskate, so he like wouldn't even get a horse. I guess it's like someone not getting a car these days. I don't know. And so he would just walk, and he's like a well-known figure walking along the street in
Because he walked
Boston.
with his hands up by his face like that?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, let me show you a photo first of John Webster White. Is it? Yeah. Oh, God. I'm scared now.
Don't be.
Wait.
Fireworks.
Oh, no. It's not working.
I think you pointed that way, yeah.
This way? Okay.
If only.
It's not working, and I don't want to show your... There we go. Oh! Son of a...
Okay, is that him?
I'm scared to show your murder on accident.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
I know one's coming.
Okay, that there is John Webster White.
Okay, this is Nervous Fireworks Mastodon?
Yes.
Okay. You can see it in his eyes. You've met this guy before.
He looks like his hair has been blown forward from an explosion.
He is early Bieber adopter.
Yes.
But then also, he looks like a Los Angeles agent with the smallest possible glasses that you could buy at the store.
All right. Furrowed brow, and then... Son of a... Oh, no! Okay. I'm the nervous one now. You didn't see that. Okay, so here's George Parkman.
He doesn't do the walk again, because look at how he actually walks. No?
What did I do? I don't remember. Oh. Right. So he'd wear a top hat. He had a fucking insanely huge jaw. That was like one of his character traits.
He was constantly arresting himself.
Yeah. He was lean and tall with a protruding chin, and he wore a top hat.
Okay.
So that was his thing.
That checks out. And he has, I was just going to say that, so shut the fuck up. God damn it. Tiny feet. So I'm so mad at you right now.
And he had tiny feet.
And in closing, he had tiny feet.
Oh, that's what I was going to say.
The tiniest.
He was worth about $500,000 in 1849, which is like $12 million today.
For real?
Yeah.
Wow.
Probably.
Oh. Is that your guesstimation?
That's what Hub History said, and I stole it.
Okay.
So he was kind of a penny pincher when it came to transportation. The
guy with the chin?
Yeah. So he's the one walking around collecting rent, and he's rich as fuck, all these things. He was a penny pincher, but he was really generous with loans and with people who couldn't pay rent on time because they'd lose their job or had problems. So he'd be like, no problem. But then he would also, was super strict about loans too. So he would be cool with it, but then he would be really hardcore with the date that they were going to pay him back and crazy interest as well.
Yeah, that's how you get them.
That's exactly how you get them and how you're gotten. Okay. So these two dudes are friends here. They had met at Harvard as students, so they were friends and they knew each other, their families knew each other, etc. Sometime in 1842, Webster Mastodon got a loan of around $400 from Parkman. So in today's money, that's around $10,000.
Jesus.
That's a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So time goes on. Webster's not able to pay Parkman back. Parkman is a total dick about it. He's like following him around on his errands, being like, when are you going to pay me back? He'd go to his lectures.
But with his hands behind his back.
When are you going to pay me back? Right.
Give me that money.
And he'd go to his Webster's explosion lectures and sit in the back and just be like, you owe me money and shit. He told everyone how much Webster owed him, which I'm sure is embarrassing when you were once a wealthy person and not anymore. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't know. And then, okay. So he also raised his interest like crazy. And so now Parkman... So he's still in debt to Parkman, and this is like 7 years later, but he still needs money. And so Webster goes to Parkman's son-in-law, this dude Shaw, and he's like, look, I will sell you my fine cabinet and collection of mineral collections. So it's actually like worth some money, but I'll sell it to you because I need the money. And
isn't a mineral collection rocks?
Don't know what that
is. Okay.
Yeah? Mastodon?
You may have my rocks. There, I've paid you back.
Right. So he was like, I'll sell it to you. And Shaw was like, I don't really fucking need a mineral collection, but I feel bad for you, so sure, I'll buy it from you. And the problem with this is that Parkman, way back when he gave him that $10,000 in today's money loan, the collateral said mineral cabinet full of rocks.
So it was valuable.
Yes.
Okay.
And so if Webster was to default on his loan, he had promised him that cabinet, which he had just sold to someone else. So the loan at this point, 7 years later, so it had gone from $10,000 in today's money, now it's $60,000 7 years later. That's kind of unfair, right?
No.
How do you ever pay that back?
Well, you don't borrow money you don't have, and then you don't have that problem.
Yeah.
Or at least not from that fucking guy.
Yeah.
Get a guy with a better percentage.
That's a great idea.
Okay, I solved it. Thanks so much for coming tonight, everybody.
This is the True Crime Comedy and Banking Podcast.
We call it It's Just That Easy.
And then Parkman fucking finds out about the mineral collection, trick. And he is fucking pissed. And apparently he had a little bit of a temper too. So what happens? Well, shortly after this, Parkman, our chin guy, disappears. Oh. Okay. So he's super known for his punctuality. They always see him walking the streets. He gets where he's supposed to go on time and everything. And so when he doesn't show up home on Friday, November 23rd, 1849, his family are immediately like, this is not right. Something's not right. Not wrong? No. Something's not right. It's wrong.
Right. That's right.
He was wealthy, so the police immediately give a shit. And as did
another great tip.
Right. And the entire city cares too, because the next day the Parkman family placed ads all over in all the papers. They hand out 28,000 missing person flyers, and I'm sure with that drawing on it. And they also offer a $3,000 reward for his safe return. So I'm sure everyone in town was like, let's find this fucker.
Yeah.
The publicity in his disappearance results in hundreds of tips and sightings. Everyone's like, he's right over there. Everyone sees him. It's not him. 2 days after the disappearance, our old friend, Mastodon collector Webster, he comes over to the Parkman's house because he knew them. They were family friends, knocks on the door, and the wife of Mrs. Parkman's like, oh, he's come to, send his condolences or whatever. Instead, he's like, hey, I saw him the afternoon he disappeared. We had an appointment, or like a week before, or maybe the day of. It's confusing.
It's very unclear.
It was so long ago. And he didn't save his calendars.
Wow. Nice one.
Huh?
That's a nice
one. So he was like, well, he came to visit me at my offices, those weird laboratories that I have in privacy at the medical school. And guess what? When he was there, I paid him all the money I owed him back, and then he left.
Okay, well, great to see you.
Yeah.
Thanks for dropping by and just squaring up the whole story.
Right. So he said, like, if maybe he had the money on him, was on his way to the bank, and got robbed or whatever. But either way, the loan is paid. See you later.
Yeah. Just cross my name off that list.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Mrs. Parkin was like, hold up. She's not stupid. She would call the cops, and they probably didn't call the cops. They didn't have that. Did they? I don't know.
She pulled a weird string, and then a series of bells went off down the street.
Right. And it's like, a wealthy person needs us. Let's go figure it out.
Yeah.
And so police were told about the weird encounter, and they kind of looked into it. They did some basic searching of Webster's office, but he was like, don't look in that cellar directly under my laboratory or in the bathroom. And they would have had to cut through a stone wall to look in there. So they were like, okay, we won't. Goodbye.
Great.
Yeah. But instead, they began dragging the Charles River and Boston Harbor, looking for a body. They don't find anything. And then meanwhile, everyone in town is like, you know what we should do is let's find a poor person to blame for this, because that's more likely. And so enter the janitor. His name is Ephraim Littlefield. He was what's called a swamp Yankee of rural origins.
That's problematic.
I know.
I don't like it.
That's what Wikipedia told me.
Very nerve-wracking.
Mm-hmm. So he basically wasn't from a wealthy Bostonian family of many loud, he was not. The table's so tiny. Okay.
The tiny table's spinning.
It's really fucking me up. So he had been the janitor at the Harvard Medical College since 1842. He and his wife, Carolyn, lived in the basement of the medical college, right next door to Professor Webster's laboratory. Mm-hmm. To supplement his income, he obtained cadavers for dissection, in which he sold to the professors,
sure,
which I think was on the level at the time. And as a janitor, he cleaned the doctors' rooms and laboratories and started their fires and set up specimens for their lectures.
Real quick, started their fires.
Yeah. Like on the, like legit on the level fires. Like we get in the morning and it's freezing cold.
Ah, yes.
Start your fires. Not arson.
The professor comes and knocks on their door. Quickly, would you burn down my ex-girlfriend's house? I have to get to a lecture and my hands can't be sullied.
It's part of my job. No. Great question, though.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Wood-burning stove. We're talking about
stoves.
The past.
Exactly.
Got you.
And help them in their labs with the specimens and such. So he kind of could tell immediately that people were suspicious of him, and so he was like, fuck this shit, and started putting some things together in his head and came up with a suspect on his own. So he started doing, he noticed that since the day of Parkman's disappearance, Webster, his wall neighbor, had been acting strangely, including that Littlefield, the janitor, tell him what he saw the day of the disappearance and like questioning hardcore on it.
Oh.
And he had like never talked to the janitor before, so the janitor was like, this is weird. And then the day after the when the cops had come to like kind of poke around, he gave Littlefield a turkey as a present. Mm-mm. And the janitor, Littlefield, was like, this isn't right. This motherfucker would never give me anything out of the kindness of his heart.
It wasn't November or any, like, seasonal?
It was November, and it was Thanksgiving.
Oh.
However, he was a dick.
No, you're right.
No. It's like, I get it.
I mean, if it was April and someone gives you a whole turkey, run away. But no, so he's suspicious of the generosity.
Yeah, something's going on here. And then he had asked, Webster had asked him a bunch of questions about the dissecting vault. And let's see, he had heard an argument between Parkman and Webster in the lab earlier that week. And so he kind of knew something was up and that Parkman had been there. And he cleaned the lab, but Webster's lab was locked, blah, blah, blah. He heard someone moving inside when it was locked, and he thought that was weird, so he peered under the door, which must have had it must have been a big crack, because he saw a lot.
Had to get so flat on the ground.
Yeah. He saw him walk between the furnace and the fuel closet back and forth, and then when he touched the wall, the furnace was burning so hot that day that the whole wall was warm. And he was like, this is fucking weird. So,
he takes his turkey.
So he eats the turkey. No. So he also went into the room when Webster had gone, and then it says, just casually in like all the articles and shit, it says, he found that the kindling barrels were nearly empty, though they had recently been filled, and there were wet spots that tasted like acid in odd places. And nobody questions that online. That tasted like acid in odd places.
That always happens when you're looking up like a certain event and there's a cut and paste that people don't check. So it's just like on every single website.
Yeah, and it is, and it's probably true, but it's like he fucking tasted, he like licked the acid that was on the floor.
Now what's this? Animal urine or oil?
What could this be?
Or acid? Just try it. Just get down and try it and then peek under the door.
I just don't like that part. It doesn't sit with me well.
I mean, the past, am I right?
The past, everyone. So on November 29th, Thanksgiving, Littlefield borrows a hatchet, a drill, and a crowbar, and a mortar chisel, grabs his wife, and is like, hang out with me while I do this. I don't know, maybe they were friends.
It was a good marriage.
Right?
Yeah.
So he starts chiseling away the wall under Webster's private lab privy, his toilet. Right? So he starts getting in there. He goes down a tunnel into a vault where the wall had felt too hot and begins to hack at it where the privy emptied into a pit that the police hadn't searched. Already disgusting, you know what I mean? But they don't really, it's just so privy. Okay. So he goes through 2 layers of brick, eventually manages to punch a hole through the wall, peers in, it's totally dark, his eyes adjust to the light, and he sees something protruding from the ground. Turns out to be a human pelvis.
Oh.
He also spots a dismembered thigh and the lower part of a leg. Upper and lower leg.
Just like that whole entire leg.
Right.
Yeah. Every part.
All parts of a leg.
Even the middle.
That's right.
Some call it a knee. Not me.
So he's like, at this point, he's like, all right, I'm not gonna, my wife's, getting sick, maybe, I don't know. He grabs another professor and they go get the marshal. They all go back to the privy and they're all about to dig in. It's like a bunch of cops and shit. And they decide that the man with the longest arms would have to go into the privy and hand out the remains, which I just pictured everyone just immediately going who is it?
Who would
I don't know
it be?
who it's gonna be.
Do you want to do it or should I do it?
Let's measure arms.
Well, I'll just put your arm in.
Guess it's gonna be you, Eric. Eric Long Arms, that's what they call him. The long arm of the law. Thanks.
Wow, applause on that? I don't know about that.
I'm kind of with you.
I mean, I don't want to take it away, but.
I mean, it was pretty great, but what do I know? I'm the one saying it. Okay. So he goes in, some poor Eric Longarm goes in, and he hands out the pelvis, the right thigh, and the lower left leg. Then they go over to where the furnace is, and in there is a jawbone and teeth. I know. And then they're like, do you guys smell that smell coming from that closet over there? And they're like, yeah. So they go over
It's the privy, right?
No, it's not the privy. They go in, open it, and they find a trunk. They open it, and in the trunk is a torso and thigh.
Ugh.
Yeah, and so they go and arrest Webster, and they take him to jail on a charge of murder. He denies any knowledge. He says that the janitor must have done it and is blaming me for it. He then takes a pill that he had been carrying with him. It turns out to be strychnine, but somehow it doesn't kill him. And I don't understand it because they're like, in all the articles, it was like, he was too excited to die from the strychnine. I'm like, I don't think that's how strychnine works.
Maybe he was just too excited to die.
Maybe he wanted to pop it in and couldn't catch it or something. I don't know. It just didn't work on him.
Maybe he'd just been inhaling too many fireworks fumes over the years.
That's probably it.
That's it.
So he survives and goes to trial. The Webster Parkman case reaches national headlines, becomes one of those popular murder trials of the 19th century. Newspapers are fucking all over this shit, day by day accounts. And rich people are like, it wasn't our rich dude. It must have been the janitor trying to set him up. And there was so much interest in the case that in the 12-day trial, they had to put bleachers in the courtroom instead of seats. Yeah.
Foam fingers and shit.
Team Parkman. And then they also sold tickets to watch the trial for 10 minutes at a time, in and out. In 12 days, they sold 40,000 tickets.
What?
These fucking looky-loos. What if it was just one guy going 40,000 times?
Murderinos have been around forever.
I know.
That's what it is.
Don't fucking tell us.
I mean...
The records show that about 60,000 people attended the trial at some point or another. And so the trial is one of the first in American history where forensic evidence is presented.
Oh.
Because they brought in, defense and prosecution brought in medical experts to testify. And because they didn't have the head, they were like, how can you be sure it's him? It might not be him. And it fucking totally was him. But so they had the jawbone, though. And so they brought in a dentist named Dr. Keith. And so he had to fit Parkman with like dentures recently, and because his jaw was so fucking insane, he had to take these crazy molds of it. So he came in and like did a like dun 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 in the courtroom. Oh. It was like the mold fits in the jawbone that we do have, even though we don't have the rest of the head and stuff. So it was totally him.
So the picture where his jaw is sticking out, like that was the real deal.
Yeah.
That was a real quality that he had.
That's right.
And then it came into play at the end.
Yeah.
Did you do that on purpose?
Make his jaw look like that?
No.
Like, talk about the jaw in the beginning and then later and that. Yeah, totally did that on purpose.
Well, great job.
I am a researcher. That's my job. So, Chief Justice Shaw. So this is the first time that this ever happens. Usually the standard for saying someone is guilty was like 100% certainty. You had to be sure that they were guilty. This is the first time he was like, "How about this? How about beyond a reasonable doubt, motherfuckers?" And that was the first time that happened.
Wow.
I bet he probably didn't say motherfuckers, but you know,
it's in parentheses.
Yeah. It's an implied motherfucker. All the evidence obviously points towards him being guilty. So after 3 hours of the jury deliberating, Dr. Webster is found guilty and sentenced to be executed. And a short while later, he shocks everyone by confessing. But he's like, not surprisingly, it was self-defense. You know, that old one.
Sure.
He claims that Parkman was in such a rage when he came to his office to try to get his debts that he took the fire poker and hit him with it when he was coming at him. Probably not true. He is executed by hanging on August 30th, 1850. And afterwards, Miss Parkman, the widow, she opens a trust for Webster's widow and 4 daughters and puts large sums of money in it and just becomes a philanthropist after that.
Oh no.
I know.
That made me I almost started crying.
Don't cry.
That's so nice.
Isn't that lovely?
That's so generous.
I know.
Why did she do that?
I don't know. It's like she's a
I didn't see it coming.
I know.
We're all supposed to act like that.
I'm gonna cry.
That's really nice.
I know.
I mean, she was the widow first.
Yeah.
Everyone would have been like, you don't have to do shit.
Yeah, you're good. It's basically like she started a Kickstarter for the fucking family of the man who
yeah, she did.
killed her husband.
Because it's not their fault that the husband is some fireworks asshole.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, you can still see the mastodon skeleton at Harvard.
Oh my God.
They were like, we're not going to keep it, or we're not going to pay you back, but we'll keep it.
Nice.
Yeah. So that is the story of the murder of Dr. George Parkman.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Widows helping widows.
You know that someone wrote a musical about that one day, like at some point in life, right?
Did or is going to?
I bet did or is, yeah, either one. Did or is going to.
Did or is going to.
There's one other picture, but I'm scared of putting it up.
Well, let's see. And then if it's George's picture, we can have a final moment. And then if it's my picture, it'll be the beginning of mine.
Great.
Let's see what happens.
What if it's nothing?
What if
it's no one? I think point that way.
Really?
Yeah. There we go. There's him.
That guy.
There's old Tiny Feet McGee. And then do one more. There's...
Oh.
No.
No.
Karen's. No. Yeah, that was kind of it. Oh, well.
I mean...
Something will happen.
At you? In it? On it?
Go around. I'll pass out my iPhone and you guys can all see the photo on that. I blame Steven.
Oh, here we go. There it is.
There it is. Okay. There we go. Look at that jawline. Oh. So that's the...
Look how big his feet are in that picture. Humongous. Not funny at all. Okay, let's see what mine is.
What's yours now?
Let's see.
What could it be?
If it works.
What is
What
it?
Not that.
What is
No. molasses flood of 1919.
Oh.
I feel like, let's just leave it on him.
People who don't listen, we're not cheering for people getting hurt.
Yeah, it's a good
Remember the lecture Karen gave you before. We're cheering because we want Karen to tell us the story. Tell us our. What are you doing? Still?
Just the visuals. Okay.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Tell us a story. Tell us a bedtime story.
Here's the thing. I was preparing to do. I was looking into a different one, and as I did, it dawned on me that this truly is one of my favorite stories of all time. And it really is. I think the first time I saw it was probably on like Mysteries at the fucking Museum or some late night weird shit like that where I was like, wait, is this real? It is the craziest, worst story that's also oddly funny and bizarre. It's so Boston. It's so Boston. Isn't it? It's just like, what happened to everybody with what item? Okay. All of my information is cutted and pasted from Wikipedia. Like, so crazy, you wouldn't believe it. Please donate. We owe them so much. So this is a 50-foot molasses storage tank.
That's fucking huge.
50 feet. And it stands at 529 Commercial Street at the Purity Distilling Company facility in Boston's North End. That motherfucker contains...
Tell me a secret. Tell me a secret. How much does it contain?
I'm gonna tell you so much about molasses.
How many?
Crazy.
How many shots did it take?
You guys. Do you want to do molasses with me? Over 2 million gallons of molasses was contained in this thing. It was the property of the United States Industrial Alcohol, which was a company that took regular shipments of molasses from the Caribbean and used them to produce alcohol for liquor. Yes. It seems so innocent, like molasses. Yeah. Oh, everybody's gonna have pancakes. No, it was for liquor and it was for munitions manufacturing, oddly enough.
Gross.
Uh-huh.
I only like one of those things. Guess which one? Munitions.
Okay, so they built this tank in 1915 because it was during World War I when the demand for industrial alcohol had increased. Sure. But it was done in a rush, and so it was very haphazard construction. So by 1919, 4 years later, this was a largely Irish and Italian immigrant neighborhood, right? Let's hear it for all of us. All these Irish and Italian families, which must have been the loudest combination if you think about it. Just people yelling and gesturing and telling endless stories. Eating and eating so much bread.
By the way, we got a fucking huge box of cannolis backstage.
Oh my God. They gave us...
From Modern Pastries.
They call them lobster tails.
And lobster tails.
Lobster. I've ever seen a fucking lobster tail? I thought somebody had made 2 big croissants and then just gave them to us. They're humongous.
I already ate half a cannoli before the show. I'm gonna eat another half for the next one just to get that sugar fucking high.
That's right.
You know
That's
what I
right.
mean?
And then bust out the back of your dress.
That's right.
Okay, so the Irish and the Italians are completely used to hearing this tank rumble and make creaky noises. And they're like, that old thing. Anyway, as I was saying for 16 hours, it often actually leaked molasses onto the street, and the neighbors would go over and just grab some and take it home and use it for themselves.
Okay.
It was very common. So nobody minded until January 15th, 1919.
Okay.
And that day, oddly enough, the temperature had risen from 2 degrees to 40 degrees. Even though it was January, it was a very mild winter for Boston.
I was like, you must have gotten that wrong because 2 degrees isn't a thing.
Yeah, it is out here.
I don't know.
They do 2 degrees all the
You
time.
guys!
No, for real. And they think 40 degrees is like kind of toasty.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Do you know in California when it's 60, we're freezing our fucking tits
We're
off?
like, everyone stay inside.
Yeah.
And then you get your janitor to light a fire for you.
Your ex-boyfriend's house? Warm up by the ex-boyfriend's burning?
That's
no.
right. Oh.
Don't.
That's terrible. Who said that?
Steven, edit that out.
Wow. Look at the rich people up on the balcony.
Oh, I didn't see that. My monocle in. Oh.
The Wahlbergs are here. Welcome. Look at our rug. Okay. So, January 15th, 1919.
Okay.
It's about 12:30 in the afternoon.
Okay.
And witnesses say that they felt the ground shake. Then they hear a roar and a rumble similar to the sound of the passing elevated train, which was right there, as you can see.
Oh, I see it.
Right? So that some people thought it was like just a real loud train sound going by, but then there was a deep growling, a thunderclap, and a bang, and then a crashing, and then a machine gun sound as the rivets of the tank came shooting out of the side, like a fucking cartoon.
Oh my God.
Of like when your girdle's too tight and then bing, 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 bing. Except for it was a tank of 2 million gallons of molasses.
Shit.
So the tank collapses and it unleashes a 15-foot wave of molasses that's moving down the street at 35 miles an hour.
That's so fast. Run that fast to show everyone how
That's so
fast it
fast.
is. Is it hot?
It's hot when it starts.
Okay.
So it's also fast when it starts.
Fast
so it's
and hot.
It's fast and hot. And so the way the temperature changed that day, like in the weather, affected the molasses itself.
Okay.
But then it starts pouring out, but then it hits the air. So basically the wave starts, and they kept using the word viscosity in this article, and I just deleted it. I'm like, I don't know what that means. It sounds like a car thing for boys. I don't want to get involved in viscosity. It's like from an oil commercial that I saw in the 80s.
You like viscosity? You're gonna love the new Ford truck. The 1988 Ford Viscosity.
It's Ram tough.
It's Ram tough. Car and Driver magazine.
So, people, cars, trucks,
Rams.
even Rams, even the toughest of Rams, horses, are swept up in this flood.
Shit.
The Boston Post reported, which apparently was a paper at the time, molasses waist deep covered the street and swirled and bubbled about the wreckage. Here and there struggled a form. Whether it was an animal or a human being, it was impossible to tell. Only an upheaval, a thrashing about in the sticky mass showed where any life was.
Fuck.
Horses died like so many flies on flypaper. The more they struggled, the deeper in the mess they were ensnared.
Atreyu! Don't you think? The never-ending story. Remember that?
Remember
that?
Remember how sad it was?
So sad right now. Go on. Sorry.
Also, human beings died.
Oh, right. Sorry.
That happens too.
Oh no.
That's literally.
I know. I'm.
Literally, the next sentence is, human beings, men and women, suffered likewise.
Oh, God.
Should have just left that part off. Okay, so the wave is so strong, it damages this this train that you see there, it knocks these girders out. I actually have a picture. And it tips a railroad car off the tracks.
Holy shit.
Yes. Let's see if we can do it.
Let's.
I believe you can.
Let's give it the old Harvard try. Local.
What the?
Oh, no.
Did you see that?
No, what happened? Is it porn?
Oh, porn. It's porn time.
Bring it all down.
What kind of porn is this?
Listen, it's just what I'm into. Don't shame me.
I swear I'm only hitting the outside part. That guy. This thing. Okay, that broke.
We were there. And then that's
now we
our
go
podcast.
here.
That's our podcast.
Okay.
Oh, look at you.
Well, how about this? We'll look at this just to prove. There's the Boston Post. There's a real newspaper. This came out afterward.
You can see all the things.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I have a picture somewhere in there of...
No escape from the giant wave of fluid, it said.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
It was viscous.
It really was quite viscous. But as it went, so it came out as like water-like, but then as it was out there, it hardened and, of course, thickened and got sticky. So then it was harder and harder for people to get out of it. It wasn't just like, oh, wow, that was crazy or whatever. Engine 31, which was the firehouse in the neighborhood, is knocked clean off its foundation, an entire firehouse, causing the second story to collapse onto the first. And the firemen that were there that day were all sitting down in the kitchen playing cards, those lazy bastards. I can say that because my father's a fireman. And I know what those people do. I spent my entire life going, Dad, can we please have cable? And he'd be like, no, we have that at the firehouse. You don't need it. That was his answer to everything. You won't like it. You don't need it.
I forgot your dad was a fireman. I was like, don't say that.
I can't say anything to a fireman. It's the greatest. Anytime my dad's complained, I've said this on the podcast before, but anytime my dad complains or is an asshole of any kind, we're like, oh, America's hero is upset. Oh, America's hero. But here's the thing. So all the rescue people, the cops and the other firemen from around the city, they're there within minutes. And they start this rescue, and so they actually get in, and even though the second floor is collapsed onto the first, they managed to rescue and save all but one of the firemen. So that was actually kind of miraculous. The nearby Clardy house, that's my cousins are the Clardies, so this is my favorite part, even though it's horrible. The nearby Clardy house, meanwhile, is swept away and dashed against the L train platform. Martin Clardy, having just woken up, watched his home crumble around him before being thrown into the current. It has a current.
Jesus.
He said, I was in bed on the third floor of my house when I heard a deep rumble, and when I awoke, I was in several feet of molasses. He nearly drowned in a gooey whirlpool before climbing atop his own bed frame, which he discovered floating nearby. So he had to use his bed as a makeshift boat.
Fuck.
Then he rescued his sister Teresa, and my aunt Teresa was Teresa Clardy. Isn't that crazy?
What are the chances?
The Boston Globe reported that people, quote, were picked up by a rush of air and hurled many feet. So even if you didn't get stuck in the molasses, the air that came out with it, people were being blown back from it.
Dude, some fucking backdraft shit right there.
My dad hated the movie Backdraft, except for the part where there's a Mercedes parked in front of a fire hydrant, and so they just bust out the windows and run the hose through the windows. And my dad would not stop laughing at that part. He's like, we really do that. I've done that before. We really do that. But he didn't like any of the make-out parts. Okay. Dad, a truck was picked up and hurled into Boston Harbor.
Whoa.
This was a serious tidal wave of molasses.
Fucking tea party for trucks, though.
Oh, I get it. I thought you were being political, and I was like, ooh.
Oh, not that one.
In a 1983 article for Smithsonian, Edwards Park wrote one child's experience. This is fucking nuts. 8-year-old Anthony DeStasio is walking home with his 4 sisters.
Tony?
Tony DeStasio. Oh, that's a different neighborhood. He's walking home with his sisters from the Michelangelo school. That's racist. Send the Italian kids to the Michelangelo school. Yeah. And send the Irish children to Whiskey High School. It's what's gonna happen. Okay, so this 8-year-old boy is picked up by the wave. It was one big one. And he's carried tumbling on its crest, almost as though he was surfing. His sisters stood there and watched as he basically rode the molasses wave.
Holy shit.
For real. And then, of course, he was grounded. It rolled him like a pebble, it says. And he could hear his mother calling his name, but he was covered in molasses and couldn't talk. And then when he opened his eyes, his 3 sisters were standing up above him like, dude. That was awesome. Let's see if we can do, there's a really good aftermath picture.
There it is.
I broke the whole thing at the end. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's not it. That's it.
That was a Futurama screen.
Yeah.
Is it, can you pick it? Can you go down to, oh, that's fine. There's just one of a close-up of all the devastation. It's just so crazy. So aside from the cops and the firemen, there was also, first to the scene, 116 cadets from the USS Nantucket, which was a training ship from the Maritime Academy that just happened to be right there, docked at the pier. So they run several blocks in toward the accident and they immediately try to pull out survivors, but, of course, as the molasses is cooling, everyone's getting stuck, which is like a fucking nightmare. And also reminds me of when I knew I needed to stop taking theater classes. I was in a movement class and they're like, and now act like you're stuck in honey. And I was just like, I'm fucking out of here. I hate shit like this. How does this help anything? We're never gonna get stuck in honey. Oh, I was wrong. So the Boston Police, the Red Cross, the Army, other Navy personnel, they all come to help. Some nurses from the Red Cross are diving into the molasses to try to pull people out. Well, right? While others tend to the injured, keeping them warm and keeping the exhausted workers fed. There's so many injured that the doctors set up a makeshift hospital in a nearby building, and so because everything is taking forever and so long, they have to work all through the night. It took 4 days to rescue all the people who actually lived through that wave to get them out. And some people were in the molasses and unrecognizable. Like it took a really long time to identify the dead. It's horrible. So the cleanup crews, they had to use salt water from a fireboat to wash all the molasses away, and they also sprinkled sand out to absorb it. And the entire harbor was brown with molasses until summer. So for 6 months, all the water in the harbor was brown.
I bet it fucking stank too.
Yeah. I mean, I think maybe at the very beginning you're like, breakfast, and then you're like, I can't, I'm gonna throw up. Yeah. I can't do this anymore. It took weeks to clean up that immediate area. Over 300 people had to help do it. And then in Greater Boston, they said it took indefinitely longer. Rescue workers, cleanup crews, sightseers tracked molasses all over the city. So they spread it to subway platforms and the seats on trains, streetcars, telephone handsets, into homes. They say in the paper, they said everything a Bostonian touched was sticky for 6 months.
Gross.
And it's still that way today. Just felt like that's what you wanted me to say. I don't know. So 2 days before the disaster, warmer molasses had been added to the tank. There it is, reducing the fucking viscosity.
That pesky viscosity.
That viscosity. So local residents brought a class action lawsuit. There were actually 119 lawsuits that were brought against the United States Industrial Alcohol Company, they're the people that own Purity Distilling. And that company tried to say that the tank had been blown up by Italian anarchists. But apparently that was a thing that happened during wartime, is that anarchists would try to come to anywhere that they thought they were building munitions and blow things up, except for that was total bullshit. And
blame the fucking anarchists.
That's right. It's always the Italians. But a court-appointed auditor found that USIA was responsible after 3 years of hearings. It turned out that a man named Arthur Gell, who oversaw the construction, neglected basic safety tests, such as filling the tank with water to check for leaks. Just didn't do it.
That sounds like step one.
Yeah, no. He was like, could we just fill it with molasses and see what happens? When they did fill it with molasses and the tank leaked so badly that they just started painting it brown so that no one could see how it was leaking out on all the sides.
Shit.
That was their solution.
One guy was like, just put your finger in the hole. That's the solution.
You stand there, you stand there, you stand there. And then they did a modern day investigation in 2014, and they found that the steel was half as thick as it should have been for a tank that size.
That guy was pocketing that fucking money.
That's right. So let's see. The United States Industrial Alcohol Company ultimately paid out $600,000 in an out-of-court settlement, which is $6.5 million today.
She was.
Relatives of those killed reportedly received $7,000 each, which is the equivalent of over $100,000. And some authors believe that the main reason that molasses tank was so full is because the 18th Amendment, which was going to enact prohibition, was being ratified the next day on January 20th, 1919. So they were just trying to make as much fucking alcohol as they could before prohibition started. And then they could make that sweet black market money.
It's prohibition again.
So I'm laughing, and now I have to say this part. Over 150 people were injured. And people actually had coughing fits for like a month afterwards because of all the alcohol and stuff that was in the air, the chemicals that were in the air. And 21 people died that day. Most of them were from the nearby paving yard. So Patrick Breen, 44, John Callahan, 43, Peter Francis, 64, William Duffy, 58, James Keneally, no age, John Sieberlich, 69. There were some Teamsters, William Brogan, who was 61, Eric Laird, who was 17, James Lennon, 64, Peter Shaughnessy was 18. The fireman who died was named George Leahy, he was 38. So 2 drivers died, Flaminio Galeriani, 37, and Ralph Martin, who was 21. A Bay State Express foreman, his name was James McMullen, he was 64. A guy named Cesar Nicolo, 37, was killed. A longshoreman named Thomas Noonan, who was 43, died. Michael Sinnott, who was a messenger, who was 76. He died. Bridget Clardy, who was the guy who made the boat, that was his sister. She was 65. And Stephen Clardy, 34, he died. And then the little boy who rode the wave of molasses, his older sister Maria died. She was 10. And then another 10-year-old, Pasquale Ian Tosca, died. And that is the tragic story of the great molasses flood of 1919.
Wow.
Isn't that nutso?
That's fucking bananas.
A couple jobs ago, I had a job on a TV show, and it was one about time travel, and so we had to pitch stories of like, what should they go back? What times in history should they go back to? And this was my first pitch. And I was so excited. I'm like, this is the best fucking idea in the world. I was like, and then and I explained the whole thing, and then the guy I was pitching to goes, yeah, how are we supposed to do that? Just like, awesome. I'll save that for my animated show.
Do we have time for a hometown?
I think we... Oh, we do.
All right. Let's fix our undergarments.
I will just very briefly tell you the rules. I know you probably know them already. But we love it when it's local. That's the best because we're here with you guys. Also, I'd love to hear a nice, strong accent if we could. Because nobody ever does Boston accents right. So if you guys can, we'd like to hear it. Please don't be so drunk you can't follow your own train of thought. It's just boring. Know the details of your story, please. Have a beginning, middle, and an end. The end is really important because if you just go, I don't know what happened to him, it really bums people out. And just remember, if you get picked, everyone else hates you, so you have to go fast.
Okay, let me see. You want to go? You want me to go? Okay, I'm scared. I don't like doing this. You want to go? Okay, yeah. Vince is right there. Go over to him. I hate doing this.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, Karen's got a cough drop going.
We're about to party.
I can smell it from here.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which way?
Here she comes.
Phone.
Hi.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
What's your name?
My name is Rachel.
Hi, Rachel. It's Rachel, everybody.
Hi.
Nice. Let's send her up.
You guys match.
I almost wore those shoes. I have them.
Aren't they comfortable?
They're so comfortable. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
Where are you from?
I've lived here for 5 years, but I'm from Connecticut.
Boo.
I know. But listen.
I'm kidding. Don't boo her.
You can drive 3 hours here and end up in another country. It's not like California.
I know.
So my hometown is the story of Tracy Thurmond, and it was made into a Lifetime movie. So my dad went to high school with a woman named Tracy Thurmond, and she dropped out when she was 16 to take care of her ill mother. And her mother passed away, unfortunately. I'm like so nervous. I can't believe I'm up here.
I know.
That's so crazy.
Can we have the lights up so she can see what
don't
the whole...
show her. No, I just want to hear it.
So her mother passed away, and she was like, whatever, I'm going to travel up and down the East Coast. I'm going to do what I want. It's the 80s. And she went, I don't know, somewhere down south, and she met a guy named Buck, which is red flag number 1.
Sure.
Because his name is Buck.
Yeah.
And they were waitressing, or well, I guess just she was. She was waitressing, and they moved all over the place, and things started getting icky. And she was like, I don't like this. I want to move back up to Connecticut. So she moves back up. He comes with her, and they get married. And she's like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm going to marry him anyway. Things start
I relate.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to.
Yeah, sometimes you have to.
So things start to escalate a little more. He's abusive, and because it's the 80s, everyone's like, it's not our business, even though it is their fucking business.
Right. Mind your business, everyone says.
Yeah.
Don't do
So
that.
they eventually get married, they have a kid and stuff like that, but then they separate. She's living with her friend, and he's living, I don't know, in a fucking shithole, hopefully. And they're fighting, and then one day he serves her with paper, or she serves him with papers, and he's pissed. And at this point, this is the mid-'80s, and it was June of, I think, 1986, and between October of 85 and June of 86, she'd called the cops on him like 20 times because he was stalking her, all this other stuff. So he's coming up there, and she's like, for fuck's sake. So she calls again, and my hometown is like the size of this auditorium. It's not big at all. So the cops are like, all right, we'll get there. And the cops don't get there, and he stabs her. And she goes outside, and she's like, oh no. So she's yelling, she's running around the yard trying to get everyone's attention. And he's still coming after her. And then the cops show up and are like, well, what is going on here? So they decide the best course of action is to take the knife and detain it. Not the man, they take the knife and they detain it. The cop walks down this long driveway with the knife and is like, well, this is the problem, we gotta get this out of here. And puts the knife in the trunk of the car. Meanwhile, poor Tracy is not doing well in the yard. The guy goes inside, he gets, the husband goes inside, he gets the kid. He's like torturing her with the kid, all of this stuff. The ambulance comes, he's still trying to get at her while she's in the ambulance because the fucking cops haven't detained him for some reason. She's in the hospital for months and months and months and months, and she survives. And she is the first woman to sue an entire city and to sue...
Fuck.
Yeah. And to sue an entire police department. She wins $1.8 million. And I don't have a magazine, but in 80s money, like, I think that's a lot.
That's a lot of money.
And she went on to help, like, go into domestic violence work and all that stuff. Sometimes my dad sees her at the grocery store and gives her a hug.
Fuck yeah.
And her shithead husband only got 7 years. But, like...
Shit.
I mean, she made history, so I guess, I don't know.
Fuck, yeah.
That's a good ending. All right. Well done. Love a survival story.
Hell yeah. Oh. That was great.
Good job.
I think we have a minute. We have.
Oh, yes.
We got really. Stephen texts us facts about the town we're in, and one of them is that one of our favorite Twitter accounts that started from My Favorite Murder that are here.
It's My Favorite Murder out of context. I don't know if you guys follow that. And the people that started are. Will you guys come up here? You're both here, right?
Right here. Yeah. Hi. Come over here.
Are you here? Here they are. We get to say hi to them. If you're
go over to where Vince is.
You have to go where Vince is.
And he'll bring you up here. It's his job.
Yay. This Twitter feed is so exciting because I go on there. When I went on the first time I read it, I was reading it and laughing out loud, and I looked at Georgia and I go, we're really funny. This is good.
It was the first time Karen was like, I like what they say. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Here,
this is Ange.
Is it Ange?
And that's Alex.
Okay.
Nice to meet you. You guys, thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys are consistently so funny.
Yes.
Yes. We do our best. We try.
So, like, it's actually a really funny
Can we tell you a
story.
story?
Yes,
We can
please
tell
do.
you.
Please do.
So, we dated in high school, and then didn't talk for 8 years, and then started dating again last November.
Oh.
And pretty much right away, I was like, hey, I'm super obsessed with this podcast. You should definitely check it out. And she did, and she was like, yeah, this is great. And that's kind of, that was it.
And then, okay, so the first episode ever, I'm listening, and it was you, Georgia. You were like, I'll have the collusion on the rocks. And I was like, I'm about to write that down. And she already listened to the whole thing, so then I'm like, start writing down quotes. I start the Twitter, whatever. As I'm going through listening to it, I'm tweeting, and
whatever. I have no idea that this is going on. Yeah. But then one day I'm on Twitter and I see My Favorite Murder out of context, and I'm like, oh, this is funny. And then I start scrolling through the feed, and then we were, hanging at my house one night, and I was like, have you seen this Twitter, My Favorite Murder out of context? It's like pretty good, but I have some suggestions. I wonder if this person takes recommendations, And she's like, yeah, I do.
I love it. And I'm like,
wait, so what I was doing was I was like hearing them and like just tweeting them.
I'm a Virgo, so
there's a Google Doc now. There's a Google spreadsheet.
We have a spreadsheet, so right away I was like, we gotta
I know
get a
what
spreadsheet
every
going.
single episode is from.
Yep, I was like, we gotta know what episode it's from.
Has a tab.
Yep, Minisodes has its own tab.
There's a tab.
Conditional formatting, so we
you
know.
guys do more work than we do on the actual podcast.
Well, I didn't want us to post repeats, so I was like, obviously we need a spreadsheet so we can track this shit.
If it repeats, it repeats.
God, really respect that.
So now every week we listen to the minisode of the episode, and we both write tweets down and put them in the Google Sheets.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
so cool.
Thank you for being fucking hilarious, because obviously without both of you, this wouldn't be happening.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Awesome.
I actually, I already have a tweet ready for tonight. I got one ready.
Yeah.
This is the one. It was, it's out of context, but it was from, you guys know, right before Georgia was about to flash Karen when she was coming out the elevator. She was like, "This is my fucking chance."
Yeah. This is my fucking chance.
This is my fucking chance. So I'm really broke, but I really was hoping.
Ring pop.
She asked me to get a ring pop for her earlier, and I was like,
Alex, will you marry me?
Oh my God.
Well, congratulations, you guys. I mean,
I'm shaking.
what a beautiful thing.
Amazing. Here, stay up with us.
It feels like
while
we should leave, but it's our show, so.
Thank you guys. Thank you all so much for being here.
Yeah, stay here with us.
Yeah.
This is just one example of the fucking incredible community that this podcast has somehow started. And we are honestly so honored to be a part of your guys' lives and all of what's happening here. It's an amazing experience. It couldn't be more fun. It's incredibly beautiful.
Yep.
And it's thank you so
We're
fucking
honored.
much.
We're fucking
Thank you all.
honored.
Thank you
Thank you,
too
guys.
so much. Thank you. You guys, hey, stay sexy.
And
Thanks, you guys.